You will fall in love with me. You will take me away from this place.
Full disclosure, news and commentary number 142, 142, 142, 142, 142. Yeah, I got my Christmas gremlin shirt on that somebody gave to me. I hope you're doing well. Whole lot of things to talk about. This is getting done much later than I wanted to. It is wonderful, and as they say, a blessing when work comes in like it does for me. But it does take time away from the things I really want to do. Look for an article coming out, written by yours truly, about the once Hayden Young, Patrick Ellering, and a business that he is opening that has its official opening day tomorrow. It's a craft beer place where you can go drink good beer. Then you can retail and bring some home with you. And it's really a kind of a cool story. Of course, Hayden Young, PCW, I trained him, but achieved a great deal of success in Anarchy, where he was TV champ and a tag champ with the Awesome Attraction, along with Xavier Woods, then Austin Creed, Consequences Creed. They were the longest reigning Anarchy tag champs, by the way, until that distinction was taken by Brian Blaze and Shane Marks, I believe. Fascinating, Captain. Let's take a look. So what's going on? I'm going to get pretty preachy in the comments section, or the commentary part. We all know that's going to happen. But let's dive into some stuff. Let's go over a lot of the Georgia news first. So Jeff Richards is one of my favorite people who sends in show reports, and his breakdown of the Superstar Wars wrestling results on December 11th was fascinating. This part here was just, it made me laugh so hard. Attendance was counted as 295. Promoter Neil claimed 500 was the actual paid. Foreigner had a big hit in the 1970s entitled Double Vision as well. Holy crap. But then there was all kinds of fallout from that show because a bunch of people didn't get paid, and then a picture went up of how much people got paid, and all this stuff is on gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com. Of course, we had a tipping point last Tuesday dedicated to Jimmy Rave, and then I ended up doing the Cheap Heat podcast as well, where we talked about Jimmy Rave. This was a Jimmy Rave week. I guess the two big stories. Well, we'll get into all of that. Yeah, really, really great. The message from Jeff G. Bailey about Jimmy Rave was amazing. I've seen so many good pieces about Jimmy Rave. It's really heartening to see. Bill Behrens has been putting up pictures like mad, really, and just phenomenal stuff. Scott Hensley's list of the 22 wrestlers who could break out in 2022. What can you say? It's a fantastic list. Hensley's another one of these guys who contributes, and these things go up on the Mid-South board, but I'm glad they always go up on Georgia Wrestling History as well. I just think it's really, really, really cool. So Larry really breaks down that Superstar Wars financial wars thing, and man, their financial troubles are huge. My Mayhem on Mills report went up. Yeah, it's really more of a poignant piece about how you know something is like real wrestling and when it's not. Who are wrestling people, who aren't they? That's going to be a frequent topic of discussion in the year upcoming. And my breakdown of Platinum versus ProSouth 13th anniversary show. How was that ProSouth anniversary show? You could read Larry's report, or you could listen to me. We're on the same page about a whole lot of stuff for sure. ProSouth knocked it out of the park, and I've given ProSouth so much shit. Um, just their production looked better, and they just went out with a bang. The guys wanted to deliver for that show. The matches that took place after the intermission were all phenomenal. But that's not to say that the ones that happened before intermission were terrible. The opposite. Everybody really seemed to wrestle to their maximum ability or even over their heads. And that's the sign of a really great show. I mean, Chris Crunk and Eric Silva was fantastic. The fuck? No, it was. Carly Bravo against Damien was great. And then Ace Haven and Tyler Culprit was the most overbooked madness of the year. But they had earned every bit of that, and it really went well. Oh, man, I got a rant. I'm not going to name names in this stuff. But if you're getting butt hurt, look, folks, other people are allowed to do well. And inevitably, this is award season. So people have that in their mind of like, who's better than whom in this various thing. Folks, there's a lot of people doing this wrestling thing. And a lot of people who've been doing it for quite some time. And a lot of people who have worked very hard to improve. And the fact that the reaction to ProSouth having a great show is, and being noted for it, right, by myself and Larry Goodman, the fact that the reaction is people being upset instead of happy for them really says a ton about who people are right now. The fact that people are kind of cloaking themselves in this nobility about what they're doing in this wrestling shit as well. How people are claiming that they did all these amazing things. Fuck, dude. This is fake fighting in your underwear shit on one level. But a big part of what Georgia wrestling history does, and what's why Larry is so invaluable. I know I say that a lot. It needs to be emphasized. Because when you look at Georgia wrestling history, when you look at gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com now, it is filled with show reports, news articles, notes from Puerto Rico. It's a whole different flavor. And ProSouth had their biggest show, arguably of all time. And it behooved Larry and I to both cover it, and we did in our unique ways. And it is important to note that ProSouth's improvements have been gigantic. And I don't think this is any big secret. Maybe they'll get upset that I'm saying this, but it's not just that it's on the shoulders of Ace Haven. It's that crew of guys who have really stepped up. And it's guys like Tyler Culprit that are helping them with the production aspects and all kinds of creative stuff going on. They have a lot of voices, and they have a lot of people working in lockstep. It is a true team. And let's just be real about shit, right? There is a huge shift in what the results of the awards were last year to what they're going to be this year. I don't know the ultimate who's going to win what. I'm just going to say there's just going to be a huge shift. And it's because a number of groups have stepped up and a number of groups have fallen down. And people can bitch, moan, complain all they want. But the way that the committees are set up, at the end of the day, the boys vote. And anybody who wants to badmouth it or discount the awards, you are barking up the wrong fucking tree. Because at the end of the day, the guys vote. And that's why it's the award show that matters. You know how many award shows have popped up with different groups trying to do their own and different wrestling news groups who are going to take over the shit and we're going to and at the end of the day, it's people who care about a thing and don't have their own self-interest in mind that advance the thing. And there's the pedigree of an actual history. Larry Goodman has known Jimmy Rave since he was 18 years old. You can't fake that. And Jimmy Rave's death highlighted who really cares, who really had something to say, who were people who regrettably said some dumb shit, and who really had something to contribute when discussing things with legacies and all the rest of it. You just can't fake that stuff. And the fact that a lot of people's reactions has been to get butthurt because they're not getting the attention they feel that they deserve, it is so childish and so weak. Because the two big stories were Jimmy Rave dying and the tributes that came about as a result of it from various shows, and Tyler Culprit stepping away from in-ring because he went out on the highest note imaginable. And he didn't have to tell us his accomplishments. He didn't have to say it. He got to show, not tell. There is not a person that knows what the fuck they are talking about that doubts in any way, shape, or form that Tyler Culprit had a killer fucking year and a half. And it makes me happy that he's still going to be involved in wrestling. And frankly, it makes me happy that he's not going to do in-ring anymore. He is never going to top what he just did. And a mind like that, I'm excited. As for Jimmy Rave, in death, he is getting what is due him. And there's a number of people with prominence and pedigree who have been around this motherfucker a little while who can actually speak intelligently on him and have these wonderful moments. Kudos to Southern Fried. From all accounts, that show was amazing. From the Baron's speech to JJ introducing things to the toilet paper being thrown in to Jimmy's ex-wife being there and kids and having those little rave moments. Todd did such a great job. And then ProSouth, I mean, the video thing they did for Jimmy Rave in the beginning was amazing. And when you look at the thumbnail for Full Disclosure 142, what you see is like the toilet paper throw from Southern Fried, and then that image of Ace like praying up to the heavens because he just couldn't put Tyler Culprit away. And wrestling is alive and well. And there are people that have said that who don't really want it to be alive and well. They only want it to be alive and well under their own terms. And only if certain groups are doing it. And what the fuck does that say about people? If you have to constantly lay your accomplishments out there upon some kind of retirement or whatever, then did you really accomplish as much as you think you did? I guess, or not. But Jimmy Rave, who is dead and cannot extol his virtues, is having them extolled by people who he has helped along the way and contributed to along the way. Again, I'm not going to pretend that I was close with Jimmy Rave, but I will say this. I think I'm probably one of the people who would see a lot of him as a kindred spirit to me. I'm a guy who helps a lot of people in wrestling, whether people know it or not. But, as the kids love to say, the people that know. I'm in that circle. The circle of legitimate wrestling people who legitimately have something to teach and say. And for some people, their contribution really begins and ends of buying a shirt of one of the wrestlers. So buy them, bitch. And that's great. But you don't get to be in this thing by buying your way in. You got to earn it. And if the best you can do is whine and cry when other people surpass you, instead of using that as fuel in which to improve, I don't know what to fucking tell you, except you should probably get into something else. Because this shit ain't easy. Has this year not taught us that? It's not easy, but it's possible. It's very possible. KLT doing their stuff. Attendance around 325. I like that around word. And then Larry noted about the top 200 LGBTQ wrestlers. I like that he, went through that list. I mean, look at this thing, man. Look at this thing. Effie at 2. Ashton Starr at 9. AC Mack at 15. Angelus Lane at 29. Dylan McQueen at 48. Danny Jordan, 49. Andy Ripley, 125. Simon Sermon, 186. I mean, come on, man. What a great time we're in wrestling. What a great time. All right. It's time to get into some dumb stuff. Okay. As positive as this has been about real wrestling people, I have to call wrestling people out when I see stupid shit, and so I have. So Jake Paul, yes, that fucking Jake Paul. So he ended up having a fight, a rematch against Tyron Woodley, who pushed him to a decision, right? And so they had the rematch, and Jake Paul knocked him the fuck out. Now, from what I've been told, I didn't watch them. I happened to get in on the round where Jake Paul knocked him the fuck out. That the first 5 rounds were just misery, which does not shock me at all. Jake Paul thing's never going to be great boxing. It's about pure spectacle, right? But he knocked him the fuck out. Okay. I watched it. Okay. Yeah, he fucking knocked him out. It was very dramatic. It was very whatever. But what do I see? Anytime anything happens in sports, and pro wrestling people, you have to be conscious of this. You have to be conscious of this. Pro wrestling is the most suspect. Not because people think that, but they're just in terms of like shady and being associated with lower intelligence and stuff like that. So it doesn't help the cause, pro wrestling people, when you spew dumb fucking shit in general. It doesn't help. And if I had to look at one more wrestling person go like, it was obviously a fake that Jake Paul signaled him by twisting his fist, and then Tyron dropped his hands to take that punch, and that punch didn't even really tag him. It was just all drama. And I say again, here's the clip of the knockout. Okay? Here's the clip of the knockout that people saw the broadcast.
I'm just getting good.
Okay? Now, yeah, it was your... But the way he fell, I mean, the stuff I saw wrestling people saying, I was fucking embarrassed, right? That's not how you fall when you're knocked out. Okay. Yeah, he barely tagged him. He barely... What? So we can argue back and forth about that. But look at this camera angle and tell me that man's head isn't fucking going... He's fucking looking over his fucking shoulder. His head gets hit so hard. And that is undeniable. Now, you still want to say, well, it was a dive, but he just knew he could just take one hard punch and whatever the fuck. But please tell me that this isn't a fucking hard punch from this fucking phone cam. Give. Fuck wrestling people. Fucking tend your own house. And quit pretending that you're like, I can spot a work because I'm in wrestling. Thing applies to the work. You can't. These motherfuckers. Like, just shut the fuck up. Am I saying you have to believe everything? Of course not. Of course not. What I am saying is Occam's razor. What is Occam's razor? Occam's razor is the philosophical principle that the simplest answer is usually the correct one. That doesn't mean that things aren't always deceptive, but if you're having to do a series of intricate fucking things to get the idea across, there's a good chance that it's bullshit. Apply Occam's razor to most things, and it becomes incredibly simple. Holy fucking shit. Let's go to the commentary. I love this new webcam, by the way. I fucking love it. And yes, Christmas is coming up. Christmas is going to happen before we have another full disclosure. So I am going to do an opening. I have at least 4 things to freaking open that people have sent me, and I appreciate it very much. I am going to do a Christmas Day opening on that stuff, which has become a fun tradition for me, most certainly. Zombie Dragon, Alberto Curry, put up a thing where he talked about, would you rather have talented people that were hard to deal with or really humble people who weren't good at wrestling? And almost to the person who answered the question was like, I want humble, untalented people. There were also a number of wrestlers who questioned, what is this idea of being like having a bad attitude? Like they wanted that defined. And it's usually guys who have a rep of having a bad attitude. So that made me laugh, and I appreciated that a great deal. And of course I went in there like a wrecking ball, and it was just, but let me sum up some of the points that I was making, and then all the people who messaged me privately and all this kind of shit. Wrestling is outlaw shit. And may it ever remain outlaw shit. It's also entertainment, and it also has the physicality of sports. And in none of those ventures, any entertainment or sporting venture, does talent not take precedent over being a good soldier. Talent conquers, trumps everything. Am I saying that you should be an asshole? Of course not. Am I saying that it isn't nice to be easy to get along with? Sure. That's not the same as humble. Let me make this point crystal fucking clear. The second you decided to get involved in the pro wrestling business, I'll just keep it to pro wrestling, it is an arrogant act. There are dozens of hours of wrestling that people can watch for free or incredibly cheap. And wrestlers are the first people to go like, my friends don't support me and come to the shows and blah, blah, to follow my dream. Yeah, do you help them follow their fucking dreams? How many wrestling people are going to be at Patrick's fucking business venture that he put resources into, and he's fucking maxing out credit cards and putting all this money in? Hayden Young. Are you going to go support that dream? Because that dream's real. He's forcing that dream to happen. Somebody coming and watching you wrestle a fucking match doesn't do anything for you. But people going to Patrick's business and supporting it has a real discernible effect of helping his dream maintain and come true. You see what I'm saying? So this fucking nobilization and this fucking idealization of like, people need to support my shit. And look, people want to go to your shit or they don't want to go to your shit. It's that simple. And wrestling promoters and bookers who are like, I just want people who are easy to work with. Fuck you. The name of the game is fucking dealing with talent. I trained a lot of people. I've booked a lot of people. And I dealt with the island of fucking misfit toys. And the ones that people were like, you can't book this guy, he's untenable and blah, 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 blah. But I gave him a fucking chance. And part of that was selfishness. I fucking wanted to put on the best show possible. And some guys, most people who are performers that have something special about them, oh, it comes with the other side of that coin, motherfuckers. This notion that we want, everybody to obey and to never have an opinion and just enact my vision in the best way possible. And I just humble. Performers are not humble. Not if they're any fucking good. Those things are the opposite of each other. Think of the idyllic archetype of, I'm from a small town and I want to be a performer. Do you stay in that fucking small town? No. You think I'm great enough that I can compete with what I see on televisions and movies and etc. Is that a humble act? Does a humble person move out of fucking bumfuck nowhere and go to Hollywood or New York? No. Humble is going to get you eaten fucking alive. Am I saying anything that doesn't make sense to anybody? You go there with this fucking humility about you and you will fucking get killed. You think it's different in pro wrestling? You don't have to be an asshole, but you better know when to stick up for yourself. You better know how to fucking work the system. You think Kevin Owens is humble? Or is that motherfucker smart enough to put out rumors that he might go to AEW so he could fucking get the WWE for almost $3 million a year? $3 million a year for Kevin Owens! More power to him for being that fucking smart. And by the way, putting a clause in where they can't just get rid of him in 90 days like they do for most people. Work them. Humility has nothing to do with it. I'll tell you what Kevin Owens did. He took every fucking hard fall that he ever took in fucking Ring of Honor and everywhere else, and he went, I'm fucking getting mine. And good for him. But humble had nothing to do with it. Sami Zayn, I'll fucking tell a story on Patreon how much I love that guy. And the night that we got the worst service in the history of fucking Steak and Shake, and he fought for us. And all this kind of great stuff. Super nice guy, but all those guys believe. Humble. Humility. The demand of humility and the demand of loyalty is how power structures oppress the fucking people lower than them. Period. They squash your voice because humility is about not speaking up. Humility is about not going against the power structures that be. You know who demands humility and loyalty? If those are the two traits you think are the most fucking important in this life, then by all means, I hope you're in the mob. Because it's groups like the mob that talk about loyalty because they're out fucking everybody else and they want to make sure the people closest to them don't fuck them too. Loyalty. How about your place is so cool that people want to be there, that they don't do it just out of simple obligation? As I said, if you are a leader that values compliance over competence, you ain't shit and you're arrogant. The mob, organized religion with their fucking follow our rules and don't question too much. They all say you can question, but what they really mean is like, don't question, right? The parable of Job is the fucking greatest. You want me to talk about Job? Here, I'll tell you about Job, you fucking heathens that have no idea. So Job, very pious man, great deal of wealth, huge family, was rewarded for that. And the devil goes, of course he's a pious man. He has everything. Takes some shit away from him, and that guy's going to curse your name, God. And God, Old Testament God, right, starts taking shit away from Job. Starts killing off this, killing off livestock, giving diseases, killing off family members, taking all that away. One of my favorite lines in the Bible, Job's wife goes, curse God and die. Basically, like, would you just hurry up and fucking denounce God and fucking end our misery? That's the misery that was put upon them by God at the behest of the devil to prove a point. But Job did not give up the faith. Job held strong. And in the end, God gave him everything back multifold for him holding out. Oh, sorry about the people I killed, but I'll give you other kids. That's fine. Okay. But Job wanted to have a talk with God. Rightfully so. Pretty uppity though, right? Right? Oh, Job. Really? Okay. So they have a debate back and forth. And at the end of it, God's only answer is basically like the shitty parent, because I'm God, that's why. That's his ultimate response to Job, who's making very salient points about how fucked up that was. At the end, the weak demand loyalty and want to make sure you have humility while they themselves have none. Look at the people who fucking run shit in different aspects of Georgia wrestling. How much humility do they have? In fact, even the guys who I would consider really nice guys seem to have a disdain for the boys. Humility. Fuck that. Talent. The people that actually know what the fuck they're doing should be cradled. Does that mean that any behavior should pass muster? Of course not. And wrestling is social, and the ability to navigate that locker room is part of the job. However, if you think your job description, promoters and bookers, includes having an easy time of it, then fuck you. Go do something else. Gosh, what I really want is a humble rapper. You could take your humble rap and shove it up your fucking asshole. Ain't no such thing. Athletes. Gosh, I just wish all athletes were just good and well-behaved and blah, 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 blah. Fuck you. I didn't see a lot of humility in the Michael Jordan fucking documentaries. What I saw was fucking greatness. And if you think humility is the key to greatness, please give me an example. And I will give you 100 more the other way. The second you stepped into a thing where you said, my services are worth the resources of other people when you're not doing something essential, you don't get to claim humility. It's why, traditionally, Joe Blow from Tupelo and average ma and pa kettle have a quiet disdain for athletics and entertainment and as a vocation for their children. Why can't you get a real job? You should get a steady job. You should get a stable job. But what they're really saying is humility leaves the door once you leave a regular life. You cannot survive because the thing that got you out of fucking Nowheresville wasn't humility. It was an inherent belief that you are truly exceptional and special. And that is the opposite of humility. So all these people are demanding humility and making up bullshit stories. If I had to read one more bullshit story of, well, back in the day, wrestlers regulated the locker room and made sure everybody was humble. Get the fuck out of it. Let me give you a wrestling story that's real. And hopefully the wrestlers that are listening to this inspires you in the same way that the fucking talk I gave about magic and wrestling inspired everybody. Are you ready? Fred Blassie was a low-end motherfucker. He wrestled as sailor, this, that, and the other. Just never fucking had a thing. He wasn't an exceptionally great wrestler. He never fucking made his way around. He wrestled in different territories. He kind of did his stint as the new guy, but he was just never going to catch on. And then one day, they had a problem with the main eventers, so they didn't have him. The promoter literally had to come into the locker room and designate somebody as the main event talent for the night. And then they would have to ride them because wrestling was very different right back then, right? They had to fucking back a horse. They had to create a horse and then back that horse hard and pray that it worked, or else they would all be out of a job. So you got a whole locker room full of people. And that promoter, bing, designates Fred Blassie as the main eventer. Out of nowhere. Much to the shock of everybody, including and especially Fred Blassie. And he rose to the occasion. And ended up making that territory money, making himself money. And he never looked back. And the number of creative things that he came up with when he first went to Japan, and they called him Vampire, and so he started filing his teeth right next to the microphone as soon as he got off the plane, and he was the American that fucking busted open Americans being in Japan for everybody. Not that it hadn't happened before him, but he's the one who figured out, I gotta make myself a motherfucking star in Japan. A while later, after that first promoter designated that he was the main eventer, and then he proved that he was up to the task, Fred Blassie asked him, why did you pick me? Because his tenure wasn't as long as some of the other guys. He didn't deserve it, which is the fucking biggest poison phrase in wrestling. Deserve it, fuck you. Why him? He wasn't high on the card. He wasn't next. He hadn't been there for as long as most of the other guys. So why did the promoter pick him? And the promoter said, I saw something in you that I didn't see in everybody else. And he goes, what's that? And the promoter goes, arrogance. That even in the business where you're supposed to pretend to be humble, Fred Blassie couldn't hide his fucking disdain. And he fucking knew he had it in him to fucking be the man. And he was fucking right. And that promoter, genius that he is, said, I want that motherfucker because he will not only run with the ball, he's going to try to fucking score. Not just be happy that he's getting to run the ball. Not just go, well, I deserve to run the ball, but go, fuck it. I'm going to make more money and get more pussy and have my fucking crazy Fred Blassie life. You think towing the line and waiting your turn is how you get rewarded in this fucking life, especially pro wrestling? You're crazy. You're crazy. I don't care if this dude is in his first year or what the fuck. Carly Bravo deserves everything he's getting because that motherfucker's special. And so as we go into this Christmas season, I wish you all the best. And I'm going to leave you with just a little blurb of Carly Bravo fucking going at it. Look at that shit and tell me that talent doesn't matter. Tell me, because he's being braggadocious, that humility matters and loyalty matters. Fucking greatness matters. So go out and be great. And more importantly, recognize greatness when you see it. Merry Christmas, motherfuckers. This has been Full Disclosure.
Goddamn, Carly is back, cooler than ever. I'm all babe, shorty, my closet going bananas. I'm always high, but I'm sitting low in the van. I'm feeling too legit to quit, so I'm quick to grip on the hammer. Getting big in Atlanta, but now I'm starting to blow up.